My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 221. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Brad Cox. The Australian country superstar recently announced his new record, Acres, which comes out in May, and to celebrate has released the single, Last Time Last. In today's episode, we're speaking with Brad about the origins of this new single, the experience of recording the album over Zoom, and why he cherishes his fans so much. Here we go. Our guest today is a country music singer and songwriter from Jindabyne, New South Wales. Having won the Star Maker Award at the Tamworth Country Music Awards back in 2018, he's since gone on to become one of Australia's most popular country music stars. Next May, he releases his third studio record, which is titled Acres, and ahead of its release, he's gifted us with the single Last Time Last. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Brad Cox. Hello, sir. How are we?
I'm well, mate. How are you going on?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Very well. Whereabouts are you joining us from today?
Mate, I am at home in central Queensland, near Yeppoon, and we are, it's beautiful. It's hot, which is nice. It's not. It was snowing at my mum and dad's house the last couple of days, so I'm glad I'm not there.
Are they also based in Queensland?
No, they're down in Jindabyne, down the Snowy Mountains, New South Wales there. So I'd be terrified if it was snowing in Queensland in November.
I can very much appreciate that. It is a bit of wild weather all over the country at the moment. It should be what you're experiencing everywhere, but I'm very jealous, to be honest. The sun is looking particularly nice where you are.
Yes, look, we did the COVID migration, mate. We've been up here for 2 years now, so it must have been the first, 6 months COVID shifted up here, and I don't think I'll ever be living anywhere else, to be honest. Queensland's a cool place.
I can very much respect that. I was going to kind of get onto this a little bit later, but while we're here, I believe that you've moved on to quite a decent property that has turned into I want to say not just a living space, but also like is there a recording studio there? Is that right? A lot of music writing has been taking place there?
Yeah, no recording studio. One day, plans to put up a shed and have a kind of dedicated space like that at some stage. But we've got, it's not a massive block, but we've got 100 acres, so we've got a couple of cows, and we did have sheep, but they died, unfortunately, by some murderous wild dogs, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But, we've got chooks and cows, and, we swim in the dam, mate, and play guitar and play music, and it's a really, really cool place to hang out. We're very lucky.
Oh, well, look, it sounds like a fantastic place. So very, very envious. We'll have to give you a buzz next time we're in Queensland, but that is not why we're chatting today. The purpose for our call is that there is a brand new single out from yourself, Last Time Last. Firstly, congratulations on this, because this is a brilliant single.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's I'm super stoked to have a new song out. It's a very exciting kind of part of the process. You know, from an outsider, you'd probably think, obviously releasing the song would be a cool part of the process. But, for someone who doesn't know what kind of goes into it, it's very, very long, a lot of hard work. Can be a short process, but, for this one particularly, a big album and there's a lot of people that work on it and whatnot. And finally having it out and hearing some reports and, some some fans singing it back to you in the crowd is definitely the coolest part of all of it. I love writing songs, I love recording songs, but playing songs in front of fans is why we're all here, and it's an exciting part of the process to have a new song out.
We've spoken to a few artists lately who I think kind of echo that same sentiment that you've just said. It's that while to an outsider it might not seem like a musician releases a song, that's part of the job, but it is. In the last 2 years, I feel like that job has been given some shaky ground. I feel that there is no idea, and this is not to talk down to anyone's knowledge of outside the music industry, but there is a lot of people behind putting out a song and a lot of people working behind the scenes to kind of get this stuff out. So it's an exciting time. Were you sitting on these songs for a while? I guess how long since these songs were recorded?
Well, I'll tell your listeners these songs. If they're unaware, we put out this new song last, but also announced an album that's coming out next year, early May next year. So that whole body of work is 17 songs, which is quite a long album for 2022 or 23. But the answer to your question is a mixture of everything. Half this album was probably written before, the pandemic and everything shut down, and the other half of it was written on Zoom with those same guys, but during that lockdown period, not being able to travel to Nashville and overseas and write and whatnot. And a couple of them were more recent with some guys locally in Brisbane and can't remember if I wrote in Sydney, but some local guys that I actually got to go in a room with again. So full mixture on this album. Some of these songs are 2 or 3 years old, and some of them are not. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and probably hence why this album that's coming out has ended up being such a long one. Because I was just saying to someone else today that I kind of need to get rid of some stuff before I can let the new stuff in. So for me, it was like, right, I think I've got to, all these songs are great, and I need to put them all out there so I can move on, or I'll always be wondering, I should have put that one out, or I wonder what would have happened if I put that one on there. So it was just in a nice position where we go, right, we got the time to do it, so let's do all 17. Here we are.
Well, I think fans are very excited. The fact that there is obviously more than less, so I'm sure that 17 will land very well with Brad Cox fans. Do you have a process of, I guess, when you're cutting songs, so I imagine that there was more than 17 and then you've whittled it down to 17. Was there a process for how you get rid of those other songs? Is there certain criteria that has to be met?
Time, I think, is the only thing. Just live with them. Like some songs, after 10 minutes after you write them, you go, oh yeah. And then some of them you go, it could be something, or some of them you go, I didn't think that was that good until that particular keys player played that part on that one song and went, oh crap, this just changes the whole outlook of the, what I thought the song would just disappear into a notebook one day, and here it is being one of the singles. You know what I mean? Like it's all very subjective to the situation, I think. And again, it comes down to a lot of people being involved, being that one keys player that you contracted for the day to play a few notes on that song. So I couldn't give you an exact number on how many, I wrote to then cut it down to 17, because it wasn't like I was sitting there with 100 songs went, right, this is 17. It was like a process over a few years of going, I think that one could be on there and that one's okay, but I'm going to put it in this lane. And a lot of it is just honestly in my head, or a few notes here and there, and just time, just living with the songs, going, yep, that one is great. And I have songs that I write and I go, oh, that's rubbish, and you come back to them and change one thing and go, it's the best song I've ever written. It's all good to go. So yeah, it's again same thing. It's a long process. You just got to live with them and hope you choose the best ones.
Look, I can very much appreciate and respect that process and that way of kind of thinking and I guess working out what works in terms of a body of work. For this single, if you'd allow us to ask, it is a brilliant single for anyone who hasn't heard it. It is I think one of my favourite things in listening to it, and maybe I'm not listening to enough country radio, maybe I need to diversify my radio listening, but it was nice to hear a proper guitar solo in a bridge area and at the end of the song as well. So thank you for that. What was the catalyst, or what spurned this song? Where did the song idea for this song come from?
Well, lyrically, this song came from, a point of view of an unexpected breakup, basically. And to that extent would be, if you knew you were going home for a breakup with you, maybe you'd hope for a red light or take the long way home, or that kind of attitude towards it. But it's been nice having it out for a couple of weeks now and hearing some people talk about their kind of associations with the song. I was talking to a lady at a show the other week, and she said, "Oh, my brother was in ICU and he had an accident last week, and I just wished last weekend's barbecue, we had one more beer together, or he just stuck around for another hour." And I thought that's also a really nice process of this song, is hearing what other people associate your songs to, which might be very different to the initial perspective I wrote it from. So yeah, that's kind of where I wrote the song from. But I'm really proud that some other people have been hearing it in a different way, and it actually caught me by surprise. It wasn't something I thought about until I did start playing it for the fans, which is another exciting part of the process. You go, oh, holy crap! I just didn't even cross my mind that you would have that would have meant something like that to you today. Whereas I wrote it for something super, super different. So yeah, that's kind of where the song came from. I wrote it with God, I can't even remember now. I'd have to look it up. The 17's a lot of songs, man. You can imagine with this album announced, it's been a lot of spreadsheets and names and musicians and everything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this was one I wrote on Zoom in the middle of the pandemic. Sitting in the office at home and on Zoom and writing songs with the best songwriters in the world.
I did hear this, and I wanted to kind of touch on it. So the album that you're referring to, again, it is coming out in May. It is called Acres. And yeah, you were kind of working with a number of people across the world. I think one that I think it was this track, or it was a good portion of the tracks was Brandon Hood.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them were produced by Brandon.
What was that, I guess, working relationship like? If you're here in Queensland, he's in Nashville, trying to get things done virtually for a lot of it, was that difficult to begin with?
Man, it was extremely difficult. And sorry, I'm just trying to find some notes while we yarn, because I don't want to get this wrong. Yeah. But it was extremely difficult, but it was also, there wasn't a little bit of distance. Like every single thing that we did was, except for my parts, obviously, were by distance. So the tracking, like the way it kind of worked is I went down to a mate of mine in Gympie. He's got a little kind of studio in his shed there, and he's quite handy with some gear, and went down there, recorded some guide tracks, just to a click, guitar and singing kind of as they were written, and I sent that off to Brandon. And then realistically, it was no different to being there, other than the fact that I wasn't there. So they got in a room, and when I say they, I mean like full Nashville style live band, drums, bass, keys, acoustics, electrics, like a full band. And instead of sitting in the control room, I was just on a couple of computer screens around the studio, and I was sitting there with my headphones on, and I had the Zoom on one thing, and then a live feed straight off the desk on the other. And it was no different to me sitting there going, "Oh, hey, can we try halftime with the drums for those 4 bars and that bridge section, and try then, like putting in my little producer kind of notes and whatnot." So it was a very, very strange kind of process. I'd probably never ever sign up to do it ever again, do an album that way. But at the same time, I think I'm really proud of the product that we've created. And when I'm talking about this, like Brandon produced every song except one, I think, from memory. Lindsay Rhymes did one for me. So this is, like the majority of the album. And man, it was a very strange thing, but I'm really proud of what we've done. The album's huge. It sounds phenomenal. I was a bit worried that this album would be a bit too pop country, like trying to buy into the thing that everyone's chasing. And I'm just not that guy, Like I'm kind of the guy that say I'll never conform to that thing, but at a stretch I probably would and whatever, but it's just not who I really am. But this one just turned into me and Brendan getting on like a house on fire and going, right, let's make this album the way you want to make the album. And these great, the ones that I thought would be really pop country songs are really great pop country songs with a real drum kit and cool keys player playing awesome organ parts on it. You know what I mean? Like it's a really great sounding album, and it's really hard to say from the guy who made it and wrote the songs and put so much time into it. You'll find a lot of musicians, kind of wonder if it's good enough or whatever. But you know what? It's fucking awesome, and I'm really stoked with the album that we put together. And I'll never do it sitting in an office in Central Queensland while they're in Nashville ever again. But I'm glad we did. There was a lot of drunk nights where it was, I don't even know the time difference, but it might have been, midday there and it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm sitting there drinking beers, trying to stay awake and I'm half pissed, recording songs and whatever, and they're drinking cups of coffee and, starting their day. But it was what it was. We couldn't get on a plane and go over there, so we made the most of what we could do.
I was going to touch on whether it's something that you'd sign up for again, but I think you have made it very clear, that it maybe not.
I feel like I was chewing your ear off again a bit there, but yeah, look, it's a really conflicting thing because it was great. I didn't have to leave home. I drove 3 hours down the road to Gympie to sing my parts with a mate who I love going to spend time with, and he's a great dude. And other than that, I just sat in the office and drank me coffee and moved my cows, and it was like, oh, this is easy, but at the same time, I wasn't there. I've spent hours and hours and hours working with Brandon Hood, and I've never shook his hand. There's something about that personability that just doesn't sit with me. This metaverse or whatever they're talking about can go to buggery in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I think that there is, although, and don't get me wrong, we are obviously speaking across Zoom today, so it's a good tool in that regard, but there is something about the chemistry of being face-to-face with someone and being able to actually converse that way. So I can very much appreciate that.
100%. And I'm a pretty strange dude, man. So, God, getting on Zoom for hours and hours on end, I wonder, like, how much are these people going to put up with before they just hang up on me?
I'm glad that you've kind of mentioned that, and I'm using your words, that you're a bit of a strange guy. I was hoping to talk about the announcement for the album. Now, some artists, they might have videos plastered across, videos like projected onto buildings around the world. Some people might have press releases. Would you mind, for those who don't follow you on Instagram, would you mind telling the listeners how you announced the album?
Definitely. Well, I was down at the Sony studios a few weeks ago for the first time since when the world ended. I don't even know when it was anymore, but a couple of years since we'd been in the office and caught up with all the crew working down there, and a lot of changes have happened in Sony in the last couple of years. So meeting a lot of new people and that kind of stuff. And we kind of went down there to the album was almost ready to be delivered, and we thought, we'll go down there and like show Sony what we've made and pretty much do what we're doing now with those guys down there. There's lots of different things going on, a meeting with this person, a meeting with that person, chat about this and this video, you know what I mean? Like all the promo and what you do. And excuse me. And then we had a bit of a barbecue, a couple of beers, nothing stupid. But 2:00 in the afternoon, there was 150 people there all having a barbecue and a beer. And anyway, they all left, and I was there with one of my management guys from Brisbane, and we were just waiting to go back to the airport and hanging out. And my guy Grady at Sony goes, right, I think we're all, everything's covered. We felt really organised. Just goes, the only thing we got to do is figure out how we're going to announce the album. And I'm thinking, is that a big thing? Like, is that something you?
Did I hear you're shopping for a car? Because I've been at it for ages. Ugh, such a time suck, right?
Not really. I bought it on Carvana. Super convenient.
Oh, then comes all the financing, research. Am I right?
Well, you can, but I got pre-qualified for a Carvana auto loan in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, but then all the number crunching and terms, right?
Nope. I saw real numbers as I shopped, found my dream car, and got it in a couple of days.
Wait, like you already have it?
Yep.
Oh.
Go to Carvana.com to finance your car the convenient way.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back to school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back to school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
Hey, I'm putting an album out. There you go. He's like, no, we got to do something. And I just said, I've had like 4 beers, so I'm feeling good. I'm back at the airport. I'm going to sit in the lounge, couple Chardonnays on the plane, 5 o'clock flight out of there. And a little bugger. I knew there was a shower downstairs. I said, see that barbecue sauce bottle there? Grab that. And write on. I'll get my gear off, and you can write on my stomach that the album's coming out on the 5th of May 2023. So that's what he proceeded to do, is write in my chest in barbecue sauce. As a couple of people that work with me at Sony walked in the door, were just like walked in and went, what the hell is going on here? This has escalated very quickly. So yes, that happened, and then I had to wipe copious amounts of barbecue sauce off me. And go downstairs and have a bogey before I went to the airport to fly home.
Look, I think it is, firstly, a very unique way to do it, but the reaction that is on social media, people loved it. I feel like the public reaction to it was priceless. It was brilliant.
Right. Well, that's what we're aiming for. Also, there's one thing I'd like to say. Normal is boring. So yeah, that's how that kind of came about anyway. Not much of a yarn, but a pretty funny yarn.
I think it's a pretty funny yarn, and I appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Of course.
I was wondering if you'd kind of indulge me in a little bit. I do want to talk about Acres a little bit more and talking about touring it next year, but if you'd allow me to just kind of ask, I guess you mentioned before there's nothing better than sitting around songwriting. Where was your initial kind of start to songwriting? Like, where did you, when or where were you when you kind of thought this is something that I want to do and I can do, and it obviously works and connects with people?
Probably a couple different key moments for that kind of chat, mate. I definitely have memories of sitting at a piano at home down there at Mum and Dad's place as a kid, 10, 12 at a guess, messing around and putting a few words together. But it wasn't really until I wrote a few songs, and I spent a bit of time up in the Northern Territory chasing cows, and I'd written a few songs and playing them around the campfire, and every now and again at these cover gigs up there that I was doing at a rodeo or a pub, or when we had a chance we weren't chasing cows. And anyway, they kind of said to me, they're like, mate, why are you messing around up here? Go home, write some songs, go and do it. If we think you're good and we know nothing about music, well, maybe you should think you're good too and go and have a crack. And that's basically what I did. And so I went home and I went home to Jindabyne and lived on a mate's in a mate's spare room on a farm, and I basically just sat on the veranda and wrote my first album, or half my first album. So that was probably one moment where I went home and actually went, right, I'm going to go and learn how to write songs, try to write songs. And for my first album, I don't even know how many songs are on there. If there's 10 on there, I wrote 11 songs. I got, you know what I mean? I didn't, at that stage, I didn't, if a song wasn't being written quick enough, I'd get rid of it, try and, do something else and try again tomorrow with a different idea. Like I didn't put the time in. So I kind of just, I wrote 10 songs for a 10-song album and put that out. And then probably the first, holy crap, this might be working moment was the first time we played CMC, which I think might have been 2019 or 2018. And there was we played the late night slot, like for the campers only, after the headliner on the small stage. And there was like 5,000 people in a 3,000 person tent just rammed in there, and all of them singing one of my songs, and that for me was the next moment going, God, I'm glad I gave this a crack. Like this is it. It's working. Like people are enjoying what we're doing. And I remember saying to my band in the early days as they're sitting there with, in a station wagon with guitar amps on their laps, driving 1,000 kilometres to go to a gig for $50. And I remember me going, and they remember, we've had this conversation recently, me going, come on, stick with me, boys. I promise you if you stick with me, like I'll make this work. I'll figure it out. And there's a couple of moments, two of which being at CMC, one being earlier in the year at CMC, where it was just one of those really nice moments where you went, holy shit, it all seemed to work out, and here we are.
I absolutely love that. That's incredible.
Yeah, that makes it, and I'm really proud of it too, man. Like it's a nice feeling when you, again, paying these dudes nothing. It's like I'll pay their rent now. You know what I mean? It's like I support them because they backed me 4 years ago, going, come on, boys, just 3 days work. I'll give you $50 and a feed at Macca's maybe if there's anything left over. And then now we're playing at a festival in front of 20,000 people with everyone singing our songs. It's a great feeling to be able to share that with people too. And I've always shared those moments of, oh crap, this is working with the boys in my band, hence why I wanted to mention them, because they're very, very talented and very loyal parts of my whole operation.
I love that, and I feel that it kind of extends to one thing I noticed in researching today is that you do seem to have this, I want to say, beautiful connection to, and it might be your band, to your fans as well. There seems to be a loyalness that is struck up by the connection that you have with fans, and that I'm not even sure what the right word might be, but I guess are you surprised by that connection that you seem to have with people as well, or the connection they have with you that you've struck up with them?
That's a hard one to answer. I'm not surprised by it because I love it. Like we've worked towards that. Probably not directly saying as a 12-year-old kid going, that's what I want to achieve. But like that's become half the job is chasing that thing that you're saying. But again, man, a lot of things come into that. Like normal's boring. I don't know whether I'm allowed to swear on here, but I am who I am, and I fuck around. And I think a lot of people they believe that, and I believe that. Like I think that's why. I think that's why my band and my fans are loyal, because I don't shit them. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to pretend them. I'm doing my thing, and we share it together. And it's almost like a mutual understanding of what we do. And that does extend to the people I work with and the fans. We're all in this cool thing because we want to be here, and they're all passionate about it as much as I am. So I believe in them as much as they believe in me, and that's the same as the fans, mate. They just keep turning up, They just keep turning up, and I've got fans that come to 10 shows a year. They live in Brisbane, and I see them at a gig in Tasmania, and I know them by name because they keep turning up, and buying merch and all that kind of thing. And that for me is just like, that's the pinnacle. That's why we're here. People are spending their hard-earned money from sitting in a truck all week to come and hang out with me. So make that mean something.
I think that even just what you've said then kind of proves my point in terms of the fact that you do have these fans coming in that you know them by name, and I think that is something that is a very special connection, because I feel that, and not to disparage any other artist, but I feel that some artists, for whatever reason, their decision or not, they don't have that connection, and I think that that's lovely that you do. So kudos to you, because I think that you do, from what I've seen, have some brilliant and very loyal fans.
Oh man, I can't reiterate. That is what it's all about. It's like I say this till I'm black and blue. I love writing songs. I love recording songs, but playing a show, and again, like people spending their hard-earned money on spending the night with me, that is the drug. Like that is beyond comprehensible, because it's not. So I'm not selling notebooks to people. Like I'm selling me. I'm selling my voice. I'm selling my person, my attitude, my beliefs, my thing. Like it means something. So it can never be discouraged. It's the most important thing. is that live thing, which is a different yarn again, which is why a lot of musos struggled through COVID, man. Because everyone can write a song, but I'll tell you what, without doing the thing that keeps you there, it's a hard thing to hold on to.
100%, very much agreed, and we've discussed that with a lot of artists. I'm hoping to discuss, so as we might have touched on a little bit earlier in the episode, you and I are chatting in November. This episode is going to come out in December, so there might have been some shows recently that you would have played, and I'm curious for those who might have missed those shows who weren't aware, without pushing for details, don't want to get anyone in trouble, can we maybe expect to see some shows around Australia once again next year for Acres, in support of Acres, sorry?
Yeah, definitely, man. We're trying to work through a bunch of stuff at the moment. Booked at a big mob of festivals, which is cool. They'll obviously be released as they're released. But touring-wise, I've got a few different ideas. I definitely was forced into doing acoustic shows and kind of sit-down listening songwriter kind of shows during COVID. And as much as it pained me, because as I just said, my band is part of the Brad Cox thing, I fell in love with it again. It's a totally different way of listening to Brad Cox songs, as it would be any artist. An acoustic guitar, and that's about it. But I really want to, nothing's setting in stone, but I really want to do a couple of those kind of intimate, probably smaller, like kind of acoustic show. I don't know. I'm thinking about a few things. I don't know whether they're going to work or not yet, so I won't say too much. But it's not ominous, mate. I want to get in a room with some people that aren't drinking 10 rums and ready to headbutt the concrete. Don't get me wrong, come and have a good time. But like at a Brad Cox band show, we're a rock band with a country problem. But I want to do some whether they're theatres or sit down and show people the new album, maybe before it comes out. I don't know, but I want to sit down and go, right, just like I've chatted to you, this is what this song's about. This is how I wrote it, and then have the opportunity to hear what people thought of it before the album came out. That's what I'd really like to do, and hopefully we can get that off the ground in the first part of next year. And then obviously the album's out, so we've got to put the band back on the road, mate. We're doing the biggest shows we've ever done now, and I want to up it again. So let's do the next biggest thing.
That is all very exciting news. Regardless of what format they come in, we'll make sure that we keep an eye out for those shows. And if you want to take this on the road, if you want to do In Conversation, please give me a call. We'll gladly come to theatres and have a chat with you again, Brad.
Man, I reckon folks would be into that, eh? The rise of podcasts, it might be happening.
Again, the offer is there. I'll chat with your people. We'll make something work. But
sounds good.
Brad, lastly, we would usually ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there's anything at the moment that's on high rotation for yourself.
Hey, I've always got something on high rotation. Let me have a quick look in my music box here.
Please.
Well, Cody Johnson's an addition at the moment at the top. I'm a big fan of Eric Church's latest EP, which came out this year. There's a song on there called Lone Wolf. It sounds like a big anthemic live song, which is really cool. And I've actually been listening to a lot of, and when I say listening, watching live YouTube videos of a guy called Eric Gales. I don't know if you've come across him, but he's a black kind of blues guitar player that plays the guitar upside down, plays a lot with Joe Bonamassa and folks like that, and he's got the coolest attitude. He knows he's good, and he's a showman. So Eric Gales, I think he's coming out to Australia for Blues Fest next year. So if anyone's keen on a bit of blues guitar, go and check out Eric Gales.
That sounds incredible. I would definitely be having a bit of a look at that after we wrap up this today. But look, Brad, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate you spending some time with us on the podcast. Congratulations on Last Time Last and Acres, which is out in May. But thank you for being on the pod.
Appreciate it, Simon, mate. We'll yarn again soon, man.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Brad Cox for his time. Last Time Last is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to pre-order Acres. We also want to give a huge shout out to Annastasia and Bron at Sony Music Australia for helping out with today's interview. If If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning. We now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Never sleep hot again with Bowl and Branch's best-selling naturally cooling sheets. They feel super crisp and cool to the touch and are expertly designed for enhanced breathability so you don't overheat at night. Start getting your best night's sleep this summer with cooling sheets made with the highest quality materials. Try Bowl and Branch with a 30-night worry-free guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets at bowlandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.